A view's visual style affects the way that that view displays, and we can find the visual style on the bar going across the bottom of that specific view. In this case, the second box over is called Visual Style. Just select on that box. When you do, you'll see that there's really 6 different main visual styles. One is called Wireframe, and then it progresses on through Hidden Line, Shaded, Consistent Colors, Realistic, and Ray Trace. Wireframe is one of the least used ones, but it does have its place. Wireframe does 2 things very well. First, it allows you to select objects that otherwise might be difficult to get to. So, if you needed to grab onto a ceiling or a roof, objects that otherwise might be sort of obscured by the lines that make up walls or other kinds of objects, by turning wireframe on, it means you can then reach up and then highlight on that roof object, which otherwise may have been nearly impossible to grab because it would have tried to select the wall instead. Another good feature about wireframe is it's the fastest mode for REVIT to process. If you have a very large model and you're trying to spin it around and see it from a certain direction, but the model is very slow in its processing, which happens from time to time, then turn on wireframe and it'll tend to be much faster. If we click down here again, changes the hidden line, almost all of your construction documents are going to be done in hidden line mode. Shaded? Shaded will just add different shade to this. We can see that it's light here, but there's shade applied here, and there's shadows on the floor inside of the building. Consistent colors? It's a lot like shaded, except it gets rid of the shade. Essentially, it keeps the colors intact, but it removes that shade so everything is the exact same tone if it's the same material. The next one is realistic. This is a very good example of where it looks pretty realistic. Other times it doesn't look very realistic at all. But what realistic mode will do is if there's brick or block, it'll show it as being that kind of brick or block. If it's glass material, you'll be able to tell it's glass material. And of course, if it's plants like we see here, we'll finally be able to tell what that plant is going to look like when it comes time to render it. Now, ray trace mode is by far the slowest mode. And if you have a slow computer, you can expect ray trace mode to take a good long time to process. As we're looking at this regenerate on the screen, we're starting to see certain dots begin to go away. Ray trace will continue to look better and better and better the longer you let it sit there and wait. Ray trace is doing a rendering on the fly on the screen. In fact, it's even possible to zoom in and zoom out while you're in ray trace mode. The only problem is, though, is that it takes REVIT a long time to process that. So unless you have just a blazing computer, it probably won't be able to keep up. So I usually recommend not using it. But as we can see, it gives you a pretty good visual. And if I'd let this wait for 2 or 3 minutes, it would look like a rendering whenever it was done. To get out of ray trace mode, select on the stop button and then click on close. It'll take you out of the ray trace mode and drop you back into whatever the previous mode is that you were in before. So your visual styles allow you to see your model, whether it's in a 3D view, and this works in plan views as well, in a variety of different ways. The 2 that you're going to use the most often will be hidden line, because that's where you're going to do your construction documentation in, and shaded, because it shows all your different components, such as block wall, and the glass that makes up these curtain walls, with the general color and appearance without taking a very long time to process that information.